What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Vinland Saga Season 2. This is episode 6, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
hmm so now we go back to Einar and Thorfinn's story after watching Knut's story last week. But much of this episode, like every other episode since the series started, there's not a lot of action. Mostly just development between the friendship between Einar and Thorfinn, working together to, I guess, to build their own farmland to hopefully buy their own freedom.
Yeah, and it kind of shows how Thorfinn's changed a little bit since the last episodes. He's more cooperative. He was more talkative, and he's not as depressed.
Yeah, although he's a bit realistic attitude on how to deal with certain situations. Like particularly like Einar wants to get a horse so they can make their job easier. So they try to ask several of the retainers around the farms, but they refuse to even give them or even lend them one of their horses. So it gets to the point where Einar wants to try to ask Kettle to lend them the horse, but of course Thorfinn says, just goes about with his usual attitude, thinking that we should do this the more proper way. We'll get in trouble if we, if we do it like Einar's way or something like that. But Einar just like hits back at him. Is like, I mean, you need to be a lot more motivated to do something rather than just sit around, playing it the safe way every single time. So, and yeah, in a way, he's right, because he's just, Einar wants to try to, get things done in a more efficient fashion rather than just, play it safe, like Thorfinn wants to do.
I think it kind of makes sense because, I mean, when you think about it, like Thorfinn's whole attitude is that he doesn't really care if he dies or not. I mean, I think that's slowly starting to change, but I think that might be why he's not really willing to do anything the more efficient way, and he doesn't really care if he works himself to death.
Yeah, and not to mention the reason why Einar wants to do this quickly, because they have a limited timetable to to start fielding the crops pretty soon, because it's I don't know what time period they're on. I don't know if this is either like the spring or the summertime during the time of this episode. They're not really clear on the timeline of most of these episodes, to be honest. I mean, obviously,
he does mention
you
something
can tell
about like they need to have crops planted by like winter time or something like that. So I'm assuming it must be sometime either spring or the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wish it was a little bit more like specific and like what time period that it's in right now. I mean, based on their physical appearances, I would assume that some amount of time has passed.
Well, by the end of the episode,
about a year or something.
Yeah.
Yes, but eventually, like their Einar's lecturing of of Thorfinn eventually gets the attention of one of the old guys who we actually did see in one of the previous episodes, who was actually like taking care of Snake. I think it was back in episode 3, but we finally get a proper introduction to this old man. I think his name is Mr. Sverkel, who we find out he's the elderly father of Kettle, who owns the farmland.
Yeah. He overhears Einar and Thorfinn talking about how they need a horse, and he basically gets them to do chores for him in exchange for a horse, like removing all these rocks from his field, and chopping wood, stuff like that.
Yeah, initially, Einar initially thought that not Kettle, it's Sverkel was making him do all these chores for free or something like that. But of course, Sverkel hits back at him, like saying, "Is like, if you I'm going to keep my promise if you actually help me do all these chores around my place." So eventually, he does lend them one of his horses, and they managed to, and Thorfinn and Einar managed to get a lot more work done by removing all the the tree stumps that they helped chop down in the I guess over over the time they've been chopping out all those trees in that field.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're definitely able to get a lot more done this way. Um, and it kind of shows a bit of a, I guess, somewhat of a montage of them just doing these chores for Sverkel and removing all the tree stumps. Um, and basically, like, I think at this point it cuts to them like, or wait a minute, wait. I think it was it after this that the slavers like start questioning them about the horse because they see them with a horse. And they're yeah,
Yeah, because they initially thought that they might have stolen
yeah.
that horse or something like that, until Einar points out that they were lent that horse by Mr. Circle. And of course, initially they didn't really believe him at first, but then they find out, they really confirm it. I think a little bit later that that it does belong to Mr. Circle.
Yeah, I actually thought that there was about to be a
Um,
fight here, honestly, because
yeah,
the way the scene happened. But once the old man, because they don't believe that there is any such man on the farm, but once they have the man is described to them, they're like, oh, it's that guy. But they're kind of surprised about it because he barely ever like talks to anybody.
yeah. So eventually, we do have Einar and Thorfinn heading back to Mr. Circle to give him back the horse until they overhear like this conversation between Mr. Circle and his son Kettle, apparently about some dispute of like how Kettle is handling the farm, particularly like I guess hiring these mercenaries to protect the farm.
It was also
Yes,
too
at certain
because Kettle was concerned about his father still working. He didn't really want his father to keep working in his old age. But his father argues that he's basically planning. I guess he's planning to work until the day he dies on the farm.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is for someone like him to just work it off until the end of his days. But it's just mainly just Kettle like has a valid point about like his son hiring mercenaries or hiring people to or like I guess in a way like paying off portions of the rations from the farms to pay like I guess the landlords of that area. I can't.
They basically
can't remember
were
that conversation.
saying that Kettle, in exchange for tribute, I think it was to King Harold, that his farm would be protected from enemy invaders.
Oh yeah, and of course, Snake also, who's also in the building, also mentions that that he mainly scouts around at night to stop thieves from stealing any of the crops or portions or like like sneaking into other people's homes to steal stuff. So, but yeah, eventually, Thorfinn and Einar eventually, I guess in a way, finish up tilling their fields that they helped chop down the trees
Yeah,
from.
it seems like it does like
And
a time skip. Not really sure how long. Maybe months, if I could guess, judging by their appearance.
maybe sometime in, late
Yeah.
summer, assuming if if they're starting to start planting seeds on the fields at this point. Because Einar said that he wants to get most of these crops planted around the fall. So it makes sense that this could maybe be around late summer, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but overall, that the episode pretty much ends off there, but it pretty much continues to establish the friendship between Einar and Thorfinn working together to, in a way, try to gain their freedom by working their own farmland.
Yeah, I do like how the episode sort of ends with Einar just asking I forget how the conversation goes, but he was asking hey, we are friends, right? To Thorfinn, and Thorfinn, I guess he didn't really think much about it. He's like, yeah, he's kind of yeah, I guess we are friends. But yeah, that's it kind of ends there. But this was a really good episode. I'm glad we finally got back to Thorfinn, what Thorfinn's up to. And of course, it seems like the next episode is just going to continue on with that. But it does show the progression of Thorfinn's character as well as the relationship with Einar and Thorfinn and how they've developed since the season 2 began.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice to see like Thorfinn trying to snap away, or actually, it's mostly having to do with Einar trying to get Thorfinn away from his nihilistic attitude at times.
Yeah. And I do think the old man is well, I can't say the old man is going to become a bit more of an important character, like not a major character in the story, but he is going to be important for Thorfinn's development as well, from if I remember correctly. Yeah, based on the preview of the next episode, it does look like there are going to be some new characters getting introduced to. So I'm kind of wondering how that's going to go. But yeah, another decent episode. Again, like pretty slow pace. There's not like a ton of action or anything like that. But I think, I think people need to go into this season expecting it to be more character focused and less focused on action or anything like that, so, like season 1 was. But that's what I like about this part of the story too, is that it focuses more on Thorfinn as a character and just kind of what he's been through and him trying to move on from his past. So yeah, but I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I definitely did like this episode, mainly because it helps with Thorfinn's development. Pretty much snapping out of his, like I said, snapping him out of his nihilistic attitude he's had ever since the season started, and trying to get him over his trauma of what happened to him after the end of the first season.
Yeah. But yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.